Hi everyone. Now I'm finally sounding a bit better. I think the sinus infection is finally pretty much gone. And today I'm going to do a guest video for Brad the Impaler. Thank you so much, Brad. So we are going to talk about common sense when it comes to leave from work for men and for women. So let's go ahead and get started, okay? Having a baby is a big deal. Yes, it's the most natural thing in the world, but it can also be the hardest, craziest time of your life. So I get why the idea of paid time at home seems so good for mothers and fathers. However, this makes little business sense if it's mandated. I fully encourage the idea of companies deciding to implement something to make things easier on new parents. Maybe have a savings plan people can pay into and companies match it up to a certain percent to be used when an employee needs to take time off or lighten their work schedule due to a new baby. Or maybe offer on-site daycare centers so parents can spend break time with their child. I'm sure companies could come up with some great incentives for their long-term employees. I just think it should be left up to them and not the government. That being said, I can at least understand where the people arguing for this kind of thing are coming from. I disagree, but I can respect their position. So let's move on to something along these lines that I can't understand or respect the position of. This article from the New York Post by Lindsay Patmam last year.
Bringing my adopted cat Jameson home with me in 2014 was one of the happiest days of my life. Having to go back to work 2 days later was one of the worst. While the rest of the country is hung up on the necessity of maternity leave, or even the newly coined me-ternity, one group continues to be overlooked when it comes to paid time off from work: new pet owners.
Alright, first off, the cat was probably glad you let it be for a while from the tone of this article. And me-ternity? That's a whole other stupid to get into. Let's just say, I don't agree with people getting extra paid time off work for no reason. If you work in a company that offers paid vacation days, good for you. Use them. Or get the money, your choice. If you don't, well, that sucks, but you should look for a new job if you want that. One that offers that.
Paternity leave is already a reality in the UK. The British pet insurance provider Petplan found that nearly 5% of pet owners were offered time off to care for their four-legged kids. Not surprisingly, the UK is also light years ahead of the US when it comes to maternity leave, offering up to 39 weeks paid leave for new mothers. It's time for the US to hop aboard the paternity train. It's not just because I want to stay home on the couch and cuddle with my new feline, which I do. When I adopted Jameson, he was 6 years old and had spent the previous year of his life in an animal shelter. He was suffering from several health problems after being neglected by his previous owners, and was skittish, nervous, and uncertain about why he was suddenly being transported to a strange new home. I couldn't help but think that just as Jameson was getting used to me, he feared I too was abandoning him. The guilt continues today. While my co-workers with kids walk out the door at 6 p.m., no one seems to care that I also have a child at home waiting for dinner.
Look, no one has to care about your problems, especially not your boss. They can choose to care, but they shouldn't be hamstrung by the government into caring. If you felt being home with the cat you took responsibility for was so important, call in sick. schedule some days off with your boss before you get the cat. You aren't going to get paid, though, for sitting at home with a cat. And if you want to leave at 6 to feed your cat, leave at 6. No one seems to be stopping your coworkers, unless you are saying you're scheduled differently than those other people, in which case, talk to your boss about your schedule or find another job. No one is stopping you.
Many pet experts agree that new pet owners should try their best to clear their schedule for the first few days following a new animal's arrival. Not only can pets benefit from the comfort of being cared for by loving parents after spending time in an animal shelter, but they require attention to be properly housebroken and trained so they don't become a public nuisance. It's clear that spending time with your fur baby is in the pet's best interest, but it's in your employer's too. According to Psychology Today, pet owners have better self-esteem, fitness, sociability, and happiness than non-pet owners. They also have lower blood pressure and cholesterol.
Seriously? Like, can someone draw this avatar banging its head against a wall or face palming? Because I really need that expression for shit like this.
Having kids doesn't improve an employee's health, which would make them better workers. Yet we grant them 6 weeks off to care for a newborn. Is it so much to ask that pet owners get a week off to do the same?
I've already stated my views on maternity leave, but to end this article as if you're saying pet ownership is somehow better than having a child, that's blatantly stupid. Your very source, Psychology Today, has an article that talks about ways parenthood can improve the brain, in fact. Basically, it's in an employer's best interest to make concessions for loyal employees in certain circumstances. But in all honesty, that's a choice they make, and the responsibility for preparing for a change in your ability to work falls on you, no one else. So, as I was editing this video late last night, by the way, sorry Brad that I didn't get this to you when I said I would, but I discovered some more articles about this that I didn't see before. Like this one around the same time by GQ, in which they kind of criticize the article the same way I am, but not really. They're really for this idea, it seems. If not the idea of paternity leave, then at least the idea that American workers need more paid time off of work. Now, I can agree somewhat that we have a problem in America that began with one CEO deciding to go into work on a Sunday and slowly led to the extension of the work week and the hours that Americans work. We no longer take vacations. A lot of things have changed. But this is a response more to the economy and the supply and demand that we need to work more. We need more money. We're taking less time off of work. This does need to be discussed more maybe with CEOs and such, so they can make decisions about how to provide things for their employees, because it's proven that it's better for their employees to be working fewer hours, to be coming in later in the day. This is scientifically proven that these are better things for us. But that's not necessarily always going to work out. So this should not be government mandated and should be left up to the company's discretion. And then the employees get to decide what company they want to work for based on the benefits they can receive from working there. There's nothing wrong with this system because that's how having a job works. You decide the job you want based on the pay and benefits you can receive from the job. You get the skills you need to get the job you want. And then there's this article released on February 17th of 2017 by Natalie O'Neill, also from the New York Post. And it says that there's a Scottish brewery that'll be opening soon here in America in Columbus, Ohio, that is choosing to offer their employees with paternity leave as well as maternity leave and paternity leave. You can have a week to go stay with your pet, paid. And they're offering jobs to 1,000 people across the world, it says. So I don't know how many jobs it would be here in America, how many jobs they have elsewhere. Now, they say they're doing this because they want to offer the best benefits, and they love people and they love dogs too. That's fine. It's their decision. It's their company. They can do that if they want. My problem is when we get into the idea of government mandating these kinds of things. The government should not be sticking their nose into how a company decides benefits and leave from work. That's the company's decision. If it can be proven that they're not giving any leave whatsoever, just don't fucking work there. That's on the employee. Go get a job somewhere else. You can find another job. And I don't mean to be dismissive of the employment problem we have here in this country, but you could invent something, make a new job. There you go. Like, that's what this country was built on. Figure it out. Nobody has to hand you things. That's not how life works. That's not how the world works. You're not a child. Nobody has to cater to you and your wants or needs. What happens in your life is not the concern of anybody else, unless they choose to make it their concern. That's all I'm saying, is let's just make these things more about common sense practices and less about the government sticking their nose in and mandating what we all have to do and say and think and what companies have to pay. And we all equally have the ability to go out there and seek the job that fits our needs. If you don't meet the requirements to get that job, then maybe you should. Maybe you should go work on that. Go back to school, go to a trade school, probably your best bet. But figure out what you need to get the job that you need to make your life easier, and then go out and do that. But don't expect it to be perfect. Nothing is. There will be struggles and there will be privileges in any job that you work. That's how it goes. That's how life goes. Everyone will have their own struggles and they will have their own privileges. And though they may not be the same as somebody else's, they're still equal. Because we as a human race all have to deal with problems. There's nobody in the world, from the 1% down to the very poorest, that does not have any problems. But there are also no people in the world, from the 1% to the very poorest, who don't have some sort of privilege that comes with their life that other people don't get. That's not to say that the poor don't need help. But here in the West, at least, I can't really speak for other countries as I haven't been to them, but at least here in America, in Western civilizations, people only need a hand up. They don't need a hand out. And you need to try to separate that and ensure that that's what you're giving people. And also ensure that that's what you're asking for. Because it's easy to fall into a mindset of, well, this is what I need, so people should just give it to me. It would be so easy. But that's not how it works. It's not how life works. You are responsible for ensuring that you get what you need, and not at the expense of somebody else. But I mean, this all just sounds like common sense to me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. And be sure to go check out my channel. Thank you again, Brad, for letting me do this guest video for you. I'm sorry I'm such a pain in the butt. Much love, everyone. You're behind on your facts, so cunt, please relax. The patriarchy died. Now you're whinging and minging for nothing, I'm cringing. You're just so fucking silly to me, with your whining and crying like you think you're dying. Bitch, please.